Hi there, Jeep owners. Today in your 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Demco's tabless baseplate. Your baseplate is going to be one of 5 main components you'll need when flat towing your vehicle behind your motorhome. The baseplate provides a connection point for your tow bar to attach to. So in addition to your baseplate, you'll also need your tow bar, which is the connection between your motorhome and your vehicle, your safety cables, which is the supplemental connection in addition to your tow bar, your diode wiring, which takes all the lighting signals from your motorhome, transfers them to your vehicle, so all the lights will operate just like your motorhome, so people behind you will know your intentions when going down the road, and your supplemental braking system, which will apply the brake pedal in your vehicle using your existing brakes on the vehicle to help it come to a safe stop when you hit the brakes in your motorhome. And this is what our baseplate's going to look like when it's installed. Most of it's going to be hidden behind your bumper. You're really just going to see your connection point poking through where your tow hooks would normally be. Located here in the center, we've mounted all of our electrical connections using the included bracket. You will have to get a little creative though on getting this bracket mounted up, as it does not attach directly to the baseplate. To get our bracket mounted up, we used a short bracket, which is available here at etrailer.Com. The short bracket is a no-drill bracket that clamps around your baseplate, so that way you don't have to do any modifications to the baseplate, and it extends it forward so we can get that bracket mounted up to a location where we can easily access our connector. Your tow bar is going to connect directly here, and if you're using a Demco tow bar, the baseplate comes with the appropriate ends that quick connect directly into this. They simply slide in and twist. We've already got ours connected to our tow bar. You'll see that here in a bit. Your safety cables connect to the loops located here just next to your tow bar connection point, so you've got a nice convenient way to get those connected. Here you can see the connection point that we've installed onto our Dominator tow bar. This comes with your baseplate, and it will quick connect right into your baseplate. The connection that comes on your tow bar is for a different design of Demco baseplates that doesn't match the one that we're using today. So you will have to potentially swap these out depending on your tow bar and baseplate that you've chosen. To connect your tow bar, you'll lift up the arm, slide the end into your baseplate, and then just give it a twist. You'll feel that it'll slide in. Once you've got it all the way in, continue twisting it again until the hole in your shaft here matches up with the holes on the sides of your baseplate. You'll then secure it in place using the included pins that come with your baseplate. We're going to hook up the other side the exact same way. We'll then hook our safety cables up to our connection point there on our baseplate. We'll begin our installation by removing our front fascia. We're going to start on the driver's side with the wheel fully turned towards the passenger side so we can access the rivets here on our inner fender well. We're going to drill those out. Anywhere between an 1/8 inch and a 1/4 inch will be fine. And you just want to drill out the center. We're going to do the same with the rivet up here as well, and then we'll do both on the other side. You'll want to turn your wheel the other way when doing the other side. Just above our molding here, there's one bolt we're going to remove. And now we can pull back on our molding, releasing it from the front fascia. Now I'm going to turn my wheel and do the other side. We're now at the front of the vehicle in the center. Our grille has 2 pins that hold it in, one on each side. Pop out the center tab with a flat-bladed screwdriver or a trim panel tool. You can then pull that up and pop the whole pin out. You can kind of pull those up just to make sure they're loose once you've got your pins out. Along the bottom front of our fascia, we'll have 4 push pins we're going to remove. They remove just like the ones up top, where you pop out the center first, and then you can remove the entire pin. Located underneath, you'll have a twist pin that you'll want to twist 90 degrees so you can pop it out of the square slot there. And that way your fascia will then be separate from the fabric on your inner fender liner. We're going to do that on the other side as well. We'll now start removing our fascia. We're going to start on our driver's side and slowly peel back until it's released. Working our way towards the center. Once you've got one side removed up to the grill, you can move to the other side. Now that we've got that removed, you'll want to lift up in the center at the bottom and tip it away. Now you'll want to check the back of your fascia for any wiring and remove it. Now if you're doing this yourself, it may be difficult to remove the connectors for your lights because you only got one hand because you're holding it up. So you could twist the fog light and then just remove the whole light from the assembly. And we're going to do that on the other side as well. We'll now set our fascia aside where it won't get damaged. So if you're doing this by yourself and you twisted your headlight out, I recommend that you put your headlights back in the assembly after you got your fascia sat down. Pull the tabs on one side to release it, then you can use your thumb to hold it up, and then you can pop out the other side to release it, and slide the connector off. We'll then just twist this back into our fascia. Now with our fascia removed, at the bottom we have an air deflector here. We're going to remove this. Located along the bottom side, you'll have 3 of those pins, similar to like we had in our fender well. Just turn those 90 degrees, and then you can pull it off. Where our fender liner meets our under shield, we're going to remove a bolt there with a 10mm socket. We're on the driver's side now, and this is pretty much right below your reservoir for your washer fluid. We're going to remove one in the same location on the opposite side. Now some vehicles may have an adaptive cruise sensor that's located here, and if you do, this sensor is going to have to be removed to get the base plate installed. Now often when you remove this sensor, it does need to be recalibrated, so you may want to contact your local dealer before you touch this sensor. There are also vehicles that may have tow hooks from the factory installed in this location, and then in the same location on the opposite side. You'll need to remove those as well. There's instructions included with your kit on how to remove these tow hooks. Our vehicle didn't have the tow hooks, so we're going to be moving on to the step after they've already been removed. We'll now prepare our hardware. Take the bolts that come in your kit that are the shorter bolts, place a lock washer on it, followed by a fender washer. And now this bolt and every bolt forward, we're going to be using blue Loctite on all of our bolts. This Loctite comes included with your base plate kit. Prepare 4 of these bolts for your upcoming base plate installation. We'll now lift our base plate into position. It'll slide in where your tow hooks were if you did have tow hooks. If not, it'll go in these openings here. And it will line up with the holes in the bottom of your frame. Slide the bolts that we prepared up through the bottom of your base plate and thread them into the bottom of the frame. Once you get one started on each side, the base plate will hold itself up, making it easier to install the rest of your hardware. If you have your front bolts about hand tight, where you can still move it around, it'll make it a little easier getting your back bolts to line up. If you're having trouble getting your bolts to line up, it may be necessary to use a pry bar to help shift it into the correct position. We can now go back and snug our hardware up. We can now go back and torque all of our hardware to the specifications found in our instructions. We'll now take the cables that come in our kit. We're going to wrap it around the frame and also the cross beam here on our base plate. This is just a supplementary connection. So we come up, and we're just going to go straight back down, and we just come down on the side of the frame. Then we'll take the C-locks in our kit, put one through the loop, and then just run the other over the cable, and then tighten it down. And then pull up to get rid of some of that slack. And then the other cable we're going to take and wrap around our base plate. And this is also just going to loop back onto itself and then hook in place. Now you don't have to do it exactly like we did it here. The main goal is that you've got one looped around the frame, hooked onto itself, and then the other end looped around the base plate and hooked to itself. And then whenever you loop around anything, you want to make sure you're not looping around any wiring or hoses, and that way it's just frame metal components. This is for the unlikely event that your base plate comes disconnected. It'll still be attached with the supplemental safety cables. We'll now need to trim our air deflector before we can reinstall it. The ends hanging off here, there's one on each side. I've gone ahead and marked it along the edge here. We're just going to be trimming these so that way they don't stick out anymore. We're just using a pair of tin snips to trim along the edge. We're going to do the other side as well. We can then reinstall the air deflector on the vehicle. We'll now need to trim out our fascia for our base plate to poke through. Now if you had tow hooks, you likely just have covers you can pop out on your fascia, but since our model didn't, we have to trim it out. So we're going to have to cut it out. And this is the honeycomb shape where your tow hooks would be if you did have them on your vehicle. Right here, this whole section, we're going to be cutting that out. We'll be using a cutoff wheel to trim this out. We'll now repeat that on the other side, and then we can take a file to clean up all the rough edges. It may look rough after your first cut, but it's okay. Once you get your file up in there, it'll look a whole lot better. Once you've got them both trimmed out and cleaned up, you can reinstall your fascia in reverse order of how we removed it. But now if you are doing a complete flat toe setup on your Jeep at home, then I'd recommend waiting to put your fascia back on until you've completed your diode and your supplemental braking system installation. Having the fascia off will make it a lot easier to route those wires and then get everything set up here at the front for your 6-pole connector that you'll need to get those systems running. Now when you are setting up your vehicle for an entire flat toe setup, one of the things you're going to have to do is mount various components for your supplemental braking system, for your wiring, things like that. Your kit does come with a bracket that you see here. However, this bracket's typically mounted on the ends here. And this gives a pretty displeasing look, and it also doesn't fit very well when your fascia is back on, requiring a lot of trimming to areas that you wouldn't want to trim on your fascia. So to help keep things clean, we used a short bracket, which you can purchase here at etrailer.Com, to attach it to our base plate without having to do any drilling or modifications to the base plate. And then we got our bracket mounted on that. What's nice about this bracket is there's plenty of holes and ears on the sides, which gives us a mounting location for our breakaway switch, as well as our air port for our braking system, since our motorhome has air brakes. This is going to be something that's not necessarily going to be present on yours if your motorhome doesn't have air brakes, but these are going to be present on just about every flat toe setup. Now in order for our wiring to pass through and for us to make our connections, we did have to trim out some of our fascia here in the grill area. This is going to have to just be held up and then mark it out and then cut it, test the fit, and then just make small modifications little by little. So that way you don't end up cutting too much out and end up with something that you're not pleased with. For our grill here, I just used a pair of tin snips, and you can just cut in between all the little sections to cut those out. Once you're satisfied with your trimming, you can reinstall your fascia in reverse order of how you removed it. And that completes our installation of Demco's tabless baseplate on your 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee.